Hello people, welcome back to Aurora IAS channel, and this is a lecture series on ethics, integrity, aptitude. Hope you have got the idea of the overview as how the series would go on. So we begin with the part 1 of the ethics and human interface. You can always follow us on a Telegram channel by this ID, and then we have a website of www.auroraIAS.com also for all your queries regarding the preparation. The crux and synoptic notes of every other subject of the UPSC preparation made easy will be available here. You can always have a look over it. So let's begin the series with the ethics and human interface chapter 1. So here the Socrates has already said that an unexamined life is not worth living correctly. So that is why we read or we analyze or we try to understand what ethics play a role in our day-to-day life as well as in public and private relationship. So we try to understand how to assess our morality, attitudes, social intelligence, emotional intelligence, all the aspects in a way in this session. So what is right and what is wrong, there is no absoluteness. Beforehand I have to make a disclaimer, small disclaimer, that there is nothing absolutely right or wrong in this series. Through these lessons that you try to understand what kind of actions you have to take in situations where there is ambiguity. That is what helps you helps in assessing by understanding ethics, integrity and aptitude. It will only help as a catalyst and not give you an absolute solution that this is the only solution to this kind of a situation or decision making. So you need to understand, keep that in mind, and let's go ahead with the session. So there are 4 basic terms you need to understand before going into the actual essence, determinants of the ethics and whatnot. So the first thing is that legals are nothing but the rules based by and determined by others, like the law of the land or the legal community, judiciary. So all these are legal aspects. The moral, the right versus wrong, morality, being honest or lie. So both of these things depends upon how we live our lives. Then values of rightness varies with different individuals. For a robber and for an administrator, the rightness is different to their meanings. One will steal things for the others and he feels that that is way of survival. The other will always give it back to the society through this public service delivery value system. That is what value means to him. So that it differs from person to person, values which is intricate value. And then comes the ethics, right versus right. So you see, there is nothing like wrong in the society because it is determined by the customs, law or society. That is why the term right versus right is emphasized in ethics. It is only a theory where we understand, is this action right or wrong? There is no absoluteness. So the definition we have seen for the different terms. Let's see and compare the morals and ethics. First, the morals are the principles of right conduct, whereas ethics is the way we respond and try to analyze the theory of determining which is right conduct and which is not the right conduct. The morals most of them are of private and personal nature because you believe in those morality. It is not universal, whereas ethics is something professionally and publicly stated. The commitment to the principles of the values is the morality that will be defended day to day. You defend for them, you fight for them for the survival. Whereas ethics, it is only a process of questioning one's moral. You have some moral inside you. So is it right or not? In a Catholic society, abortion is not preferred. So if you want to say, is it right or wrong? It is depending upon the justification you make through your statements, whether it is right or whether it is wrong. Then it is morals are pertaining to an individual's character, while the ethics are speaking about the relationships between the human beings. It is about the theory of understanding what is a kind of a right or a wrong. There is no wrong. In fact, you have to say right versus right only in these sessions. So the next thing is some beautiful lines about the ethics as the branch of philosophy that will deal with the making decisions that can help to lead a contented life, because you can justify what is right and wrong, thereby have a very contented life, because your decision making becomes easy. There is no ambiguity. It will add your strength and consistency. You will not show a split 5% personality disorder, like what should I do, why should I behave this way, and you go into confusion. That confusion is avoided, and it is derived from the word ethos, which means habit, character and custom that a person is following the rules of conduct for a specific activity. The code of ethics is also the source of social order, science of conduct, as well as it deals with not with facts but values and principles within you and associated. That is why it is a normative science. These are not facts, it's a norms based on norms of the society. And what are the challenging aspects to the ethics? Your individual egoism, your religion, culture, all of them have influencing role on this ethics. That's by acting as an impediment. Let's understand morals and ethics in a very deep perspective. Before slides we have just seen an overall view. So in this, it's nothing but an example. Through an example you can understand better the difference between a moral and ethic. Suppose touching the feet of the elders is imbibed in the culture of in the Indian society, right? It's a principle. So where do we get this principle from? Do you have a source like Bhagavad Gita told you, or Upanishad told you, or Vedas tell you that you have to touch your feet? You are told by the society that you're just continuing the tradition, right? Whereas moral is not something like that. Just because your society has told you, somebody, your parents have told you, your grandparents have told you that you have to touch the feet of the elders whenever you meet them. Morality says that I will only do when I like it. That is what. See, if I will never lie because I believe in honesty. Killing will create some antisocial disorder, so I will never murder a person or kill a person. This is what morality is all about. It is internal locus. It brings only self within self, and it is a subset of ethics. In a larger overall portion of sustenance, survival, these morals form the subset of the ethics portion. That is what moral are. They won't give you a substantial evidence of a lengthy decisions like why should you be moral, why should be immoral. It will only prescribe a prescription, just like a doctor prescribes you the medicine, not telling you what it will do in the subsequent course of action of 5-day dose of taking medicines. It is just prescribing you that being honest is good for the social order. That's it. While in ethics it is very specific and descriptive. If you take this right course of medicine, this will happen to your livers. The liver will function properly. If you don't take it on time, then it will kind of create a gastroenteritis problem inside your lungs or wherever it is. So this is what a descriptive portion of ethics would deal with. It is more in a specific manner, whereas morals are very generalized form of subset of ethics principles on life. The ethics will consider results of right action when not done. So it will be concerning with the end results, whereas a moral will be results of actions when done. If I do it, I will be having these kind of a moral. If I don't do it, that is what ethics will tell you. If I don't do it, what kind of dissonance I will try to encounter. That is what. For another example, like in a Khap Panchayat, if you disapprove their any kind of judgments or anything, you will have a disapproval or banishment or isolation from the society itself. So ethics on a large scale will have that kind of a disapproval. Whereas morality, if suppose your morality says that being not being corrupt is the highest virtue of your life, but coming under pressure of your family, kith and kin, you take bribe from somebody in form of a gift, then you will have a dissonance inside yourself. That you're standing for honesty and non-corruption values, but you have taken the bribe. So it is inner guilt feeling that creates due to morality. That is the basic difference between morality and ethics. So there are different types of tests based on which ethical decisions are made. Ethical decisions are nothing but right versus right? So there are smell tests. That smell is whichever thing will smell good, that is good for society. Bad smell will prevent action. Utility is of happiness and bringing justice. Right test is universal declaration of human rights. Choice test is preference and priorities given to the individual actions that actually need right kind of action in an early preferential mode of action. And then a justice test. Justice test would deal with treat equals equally and unequals unequally. Where common good test says that social institutions have to be coming up to provide a common good at large to the society. Virtue test is a mirror test. You only do to people those things which you can actually apply it on you also. If you are murdering somebody, when if somebody else can also murder you and you can accept it properly, then you can go on murdering. But we don't accept somebody murdering us, right? That is why the virtue test says that if I do this, can I face mirror in myself? That is what virtue test. So ethical dilemmas or dilemmas, anyway you can pronounce it. So the moral complexity, it is about moral complexity, like situations where moral reasons come into conflict. Why they would come into conflict? Because there is vagueness. You don't have good principles inside you, or there is a lot of ambiguity, conflicting reasons, like you have to accept the bribe or accept it as a gift. That's a conflicting reason. And you always have a disagreement. You apply moral reasons and based on the ranking of the decisions, like whichever has to come in the preferential or the priority order, that you will exercise. Coming to the next slide, this is what the 3 arrows show the kind of behavior we go through in making decisions. One is having ethical awareness of the situation to raise above the thought, having some thought process of in the ethical concerns manner. And next comes the ethical judgment. Ethical judgment is nothing but decision making that involves the ethical principles, the right ethical principles involved in it for a better and actual ethical behavior in the situations not prone to cognitive biases, but it has to have some ethical angle to it. This is the way you ought to bring out the ethical behavior inside you. Next, we have some ethical competency. Ethical competency is nothing but commitment, having knowledge, having promotion, having action-led ethical reasoning, where you have at the personality level. That is where you can solve the ethical dilemmas. How to solve? You first identify the moral factors and reasons and clarity based on your duties, rights, goods and obligations. You collect all the information and facts relevant to the situation and design the different course of actions. Like suppose you are in charge suppose say you are the city planner for your district, and there is a illegal construction going on, and some people coming from a very downtrodden societies have complained that in their locality there is a illegal construction going on, but the illegal construction belongs to a very influential political person or political organization. So what kind of ethical dilemmas you have there? If you go ahead with the demolition of the illegal construction, your office, you might be transferred, you might be deemed promoted. If you don't go, your devotion to your duty and commitment values are undermined. So these kind of dilemmas, when these happen, you have to have alternate courses of actions that you could take and resolve based on the priorities you give it to them. So then you write down all the main options and sub options as a matrix, as a decision tree, based on which you take the final decisions. You discuss among your friends, family, colleagues also to obtain the different kinds of perspectives and suggestions to decide the final course of action. This very slide itself will give you your answer to many of the case study approaches. This is what you have. So after describing the normative and descriptive ethics and theoretical aspects of ethical dilemmas understanding, next we have the normative classification and subsequent classification as consequentialist and non-consequentialist. Consequentialists have egoism and utilitarianism, and non-consequentialist, which is of duty-based, is about Kantian theories. Let's try to understand each one of them in brief. So the descriptive ethics is also dealing as what people actually believe, like if it is acceptable or punishable under their own law of land or a custom made by their society. Like the tribal societies have different rules, not just like us. They have different rules. Like one of the tribal communities, they have this polyandry phenomena. The girl goes and chooses in a swayamvara the man of her choice, and then can marry any number of men in her life. So this is a kind of a custom they have made it. This is just what people actually believe about. Just like the Kach Panchayat norms in Rajasthan, that there should be no Gotra, same Gotra marriages. These descriptive ethics are not permanent. These keep on changing time to time because customs and law keeps on changing, accommodating to the modern society's phenomena. Next we come to meta-ethics. Meta-ethics are nothing but the analytic ethics. These will deal with the nature of the moral judgment. It is just like what is the right course of action. It looks at the principles and the origins of the ethical dilemmas where it comes from. It will explore the actual moral core values and the foundations of the very basic principles of ethics. Then we have this normative ethics. Normative or prescriptive ethics are nothing but what is a content or what is a criteria based on which we are judging what is right and what is wrong. It is believing that doing to other as we want them to do to us. It is based on that I will only do such actions which they other also can come and do it to me. Only then if I can take the pain, then give the pain to the others. So that is a principle in normative ethics. Then comes the deontological ethics. Deontological, based on the word itself, it is duty based ethics. It says that whatever it is, even if the MSME sector is facing a lot of hardships in filing the GST filings, I as an officer have to be bound to the duty of the land. So I do the duty by making the legislations or implementing the legislations. That cannot be that can be justified by later saying that one tax, one nation policy. This is what deontological ethics says. Normative, descriptive, meta-ethics and deontological we have already seen. Let's see the next. The categorical imperative of the Immanuel Kant, which says principle of universality, that it is applicable to all the people. Principle of reciprocity, it is followed by almost all the religions, that they say do as you would be done by you to others. So this is what the principle of reciprocity is all about. Then we have some other thing called as moral absolutism. Moral absolutism is nothing but if suppose Mr. A is at the bakery and he steals something from the bakery, it is wrong even if he does to suffice his hunger. Even if he is hungry, he shouldn't do it. That is what moral absolutism says. It is absolute. It is defined in the principle that stealing is bad no matter what the circumstances are. So another theory of Immanuel Kant, which is also the non-consequentialist or duty-based ethics, is that divine command theory. Action is right if God has decreed it on you. An action performed because it is a duty, not because of the consequences. These all form the deontological approaches. This forms the deontological approach of normative form of ethics. And then we have the virtue ethics in the end. What are virtue ethics? Before that, theological we haven't dealt with, right? So let's see the theological approach. Theological is, we have already seen deontological will be basically dealing with the duty. So theological is all about the outcome, consequences. So the consequences will be based upon these approaches. What kind of actions result to the end will depend upon the five different approaches. One approach is, suppose you are the city planner, which you have already taken. Now there comes a plan approval scheme where you are being paid the bribe or you are being requested by the people around it because there is a orphanage coming up in the area, so they want you to approve of the plan in a timely manner. So even if you are taking the bribe in this situation or taking an action which is against your some of the principles, still the act is justified because you're doing it for a bigger or larger greater number of people's happiness. That is why utilitarianism principle says that greater good for greatest common interest of the people. And then hedonism is nothing but, just like it happened in Nirbhaya's rape case, the juvenile's action was hedonistic because it is maximizing the pleasure is right. It is not about the other people. No compassion, no empathy, no kind of an right kind of an approach is adopted with these hedonistic kind of attitudes. Then there is egoism, like even if there is accident victim, you can still prefer going and attending your UPSC interview because that says maximizing your good for the self is right according to this principle. Asceticism is nothing but spiritual goal is the right action. Just like Buddha says that meditating and making other people find their salvation path is the asceticism, and it is remaining away from the egoistic pleasure. We have the altruistic, the last of the approach in the theological. Theological last approach is altruism. The best example for this is Mother Teresa. Nobody else can actually substitute her generosity, compassion, kindness, and voluntarism kind of values she had towards the downtrodden section. That is all in all is theological. Next comes your applied ethics part. Applied ethics is really vast, dynamic, as well as it is never ending topic. It deals with like decision making, like what kind of ethics are Kap Panchayats following. It deals with also professional ethics, where the IPS officer was caught cheating in the mains examination. It also deals with the clinical ethics, where clinical trials are ethical or not. You are trying medicines and all your products or innovations on these animals as well as the vulnerable population. Is it right? Is it ethical part or not? Then the organizational ethics is ethics within and among the organization, like the Chanda Kochar recent case of ICICI bank fraud, where she has diverted the fund to her husband company of Videocon for the private interest. So is it right or not? Then we have social ethics, where abortion, sati, child labor, euthanasia can be debated on. Bioethics, like the capital punishment, war and animal rights. Corporate ethics, like the insider trading, gender inequality issues which have been highlighted in corporate governance issues, as well as public sector ethics, where nepotism, where the CMD post level is always preferred to the kith and kin of the nearby people who are influential into the political arena. Then we have the media ethics. It's evident itself, and everybody knows that what kind of sensationalization media trials in the same like that of the Arushi murder case, where just before the judiciary decides everything is decided in the news boardroom. Then the environmental ethics of the GM crop debate, then the climate change issues, all in all are applied ethics. You understand through this slide that it is a very vast topic. Many topics come under this: international funding, international war, bioethics, many things come under this. So this will be dealt in the separate session through the video session. So for this you have to understand that there is another portion of applied ethics that comes other than the normative and descriptive ethics. This forms the third part. So one we had, let's see the chart for a better understanding, like whatever we have done till now. Approaches to the ethics. One is ethics deals with theoretical and applied. So applied, we have seen professional, bio, and all these portions. And theoretical, we have two type of descriptions. One is normative, one is descriptive. In normative, we have theological, deontological, virtue ethics, and ethics is about meta ethics, ethics itself. So in normative ethics, sub-classification is consequentialist and non-consequentialist. We have seen the categorical imperative of the Kant, divine command theory, moral absolutism. Next is a portion on essence of ethics as social, organization, political, national, and individual level. All in all has been sub-classified into these 4 or 5 points, like affect the human behavior. They have an impact on rational thinking, so that moral issues on ethical theories based on this, you can arrive at a decision. You have a moral pathway for decision making in business ethics, like the applied ethics part can be enhanced with this kind of an ethical understanding. Then you have a solution for keeping the law and moral attitude at a balance. Not that suppose you are the job interviewer and some your friend's nephew who is very poor comes to your job interview and says that you have to give it to him or her, then what kind of an ethical decision you will make it? If you give the job to her or him who is of your in the friend circle, then it would come under a moral act but an unethical. But if you prefer the other skillful people in the interview, then it is an ethical act. So what kind of balance you are making towards your moral as well as ethical actions is what ethics will help you in understanding or evaluating. And it evaluates this moral ambiguity as well as its concerns with the people larger interests, desires collective good for the society, because Indian value system is collectivism. We have a solidarity, universal brotherhood. That is what we believe in. So all in all, this is the essence of the ethics. what obstructs our ethical scrutiny is that we are ignorant to some of the facts. We don't have the knowledge utility function to have a basic understanding of the attitude. Thus, disfavor or favor will be generated to this kind of an ignorance. Then we are habituated to one kind of a moral action every day. Every situation will react in the same way. So when then those kinds of situation will obstruct your ethical scrutiny. Just because based on your previous experience you will act in the future also, then there might be a compromising situations of ethical standards. There are some values and customs in the society that will let you down some ethical scrutiny in yourself. There is also the fear that you might get some dissonance from or resistance from the society itself. That is why ethical scrutiny will be blocked in a right way. So all this write-up, a brief write-up on each of the things has been included into the PDFs documents also. You can have a look over it. Then we have these approaches to the ethical decision making, which was already dealt through the previous slide. These are nothing but the approaches for the decision making. All in all, you can just briefly write up using the previous slides. The next comes a very important person, St. Thomas Aquinas. He has given the 3 conditions, like how the human action can be ethical. One, he says that you need to have knowledge or information regarding the act. Before exercising or choosing the right options, you need to have the right knowledge, get all the facts done, only then proceed to a case study approach. And then free will thinking. Free will thinking is that, see, we are free by choice, like we can do what kind of actions whatever we wish to. For example, take this lynching wala case which happened in West Bengal. The laborer, what happened was instant reaction of the crowd was to capture the video on the mobile and post it on the social media. They had 2 options they could do actually. First, either rescue the worker from the situation, help him, get him the medical aid. The other, they had the only the free will of recording the video and uploading the social media. But which is actual ethical? Like which kind of a human action would you term it as ethical? They should have helped it, but after posting it in the social media, the actual perpetrators of the violence have been captured and done into the jail, right? So which is ethical? This is the ambiguity. So this human action would be determined based on the 3 conditions. So the free will is the most important, because seeing, thinking and walking are based on the free will of the choice of the individual. So that is where some ethical conduct has to be, ethical scrutiny has to be applied. And the third one is the voluntary actions, which are done directly or naturally without any thoughts back ahead of your mind. Or it is like swan chasing fish or leopard chasing deer. These are all voluntary actions. These have no case of having a predispositions in the mind towards of liking or disliking a situation or a value system. So there is nothing. But these 3 play a very important conditional roles to have a good human action that can be termed as ethical behavior. So this is it for the first session. Thank you for watching and hope you're liking the session. And then in the subsequent sessions also you will get a brief idea about every other topic, and with kind of a case study approach, what kind of approaches you have to gain through. The part 2 is continued. So please like, share and subscribe to the channel for all the upcoming courses, and do comment, give your feedback on these sessions, and what kind of courses you want us to come up with. Please do write up in the comment box. Happy studying, and see you soon with the other lecture series, and Jai Hind.